Live from the mighty Veedworks airship, I'm Travis Lippert, CEO of Works Unlimited Limited, better known as Veedworks.
And I'm Julie Richardson, Director of Commercialization and Promotions. And today we have with us the wonderful Anita Sommers. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
For coming in. I heard you were in town and was just like rapidly texting you. You got to come on. So thank you for the impromptu making time in your busy day, because I know everybody responded. Everybody responded.
My pleasure. I'm excited to be here with you.
Yeah. So you've got a passion that we're also passionate about, and that's getting to the real science of cannabis.
Right.
And we were starting to bring up this subject, and we stopped and we go, no, we got to go live because this is what we wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
And it's the individuality of the cannabis plant and the individual person, and we tell people when they first start, whatever it is that they're using, whether it be oils or topicals, start out slow and layer, because I find that with me personally, I ingest it, I smoke it, I apply it to my body, I, use any way that I can get it in there to saturate myself. Right. But that's not what somebody that doesn't have my health issues needs to do.
Right. Exactly. And everybody responds differently. So how can you say this is the black and white way to do one thing?
Right.
The simple one I always say is the peanut thing. I could eat a Snickers bar right here, right now, and then there could be somebody eating one peanut and just die.
Right.
Because their body responds differently. Everyone has a different deficiency. So
this is true.
You can't say it's not a one size fits all here, because the variability of the plant plus the variability of us. What's your patient history? What's your family history? There's so many. How long have you had this ailment?
Right. Oh, right? Absolutely.
What stage of the ailment are you in? Mm-hmm. It's just a big can of worms, but it's a beautiful mess, because we can continue to learn as the analytical diagnostics and the technology comes in. This is amazing, because now with the data we can show the value and put it on paper, right? Like what they're doing on the other side of the world. we can start doing that here when we bring the science in.
Right. Well, and it's the time is here, we can go to the doctor now and get our DNA tested and see what we're lacking in and what we need to do to fortify our bodies to do preventative measures. Right. I see that and imagine a time where we can go swab and get it in there and find out what this organism needs.
Right.
And
what
plant
is your
medicine.
Deficiency?
Yes. And it's not so far-fetched.
It's not, right? That's exactly what I mean with the personalized medicine. And you and I both know that pain, and we both understand being a patient and needing the relief of pain, but we are different. My ailment is ulcerative colitis. So think about the location. Think about the body system, right? So why would I do a personalized medicine by ingestion when I could focus on a local administration? Think about, the bioavailability. So it's a big deal to understand your need and then see how nature can just tie with you and help you.
Right.
Because the synthetic drugs, they're all replicas of nature, right? But the side effects just, why do that route? We should have, and I say we should have, because I forget I'm in Colorado right now. We don't have that access. How unfair is that, right?
Pretty messed up.
I'm here, and I can go to a dispensary. I can learn a little bit about some cannabis. As a matter of fact, yesterday we did walkthroughs of farms and labs yesterday.
Doesn't that blow your mind when the first time you see it?
Yeah. Well, the first time I saw it did. I was like a child in a candy store, and we actually had a friend having that same experience. But yeah, it's amazing, and I want to keep bringing that back to Texas. Like, I was actually laughed at. Someone asked me, what are you up to? They hadn't seen me for a while. And I said, I'm educating the biochemistry of cannabis as a cannabis science communicator. And he literally laughed at me. Like, oh, wow, thanks. No, he laughed it off like, why are you wasting your time with that?
Right.
Doesn't he have TV? Everybody knows this isn't a waste of time now.
I know.
PBS, I just saw a
Unfortunately,
PBS special on The Green Rush. We're doing a new series called The Green Rush. It's like, dude, we've been doing this series like
You're the perfect nerd.
And I'm so thankful for you guys because that's exactly right. I have been in a bubble. Like first being in the Air Force. Of course, I didn't even partake in cannabis, of course, for like almost 10 years.
I was also in the Air Force.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for your service.
Thank you for your service. Notice I didn't say.
So
I also did not partake. I got tested randomly so many times.
did you? I didn't get tested once.
Oh, I got tested all the time. I mean, if you have a Grateful Dead tattoo, I think you end up on a list.
It's just automatic.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Because I didn't get tested once, but everybody around me did.
So you had an Air Force bubble and then...
Air Force bubble, then I was in school, so I didn't have time for that, to be out as an activist and advocating. I was so busy trying
Texas
to just
Tech.
keep up, right? I have a degree in cell and molecular biology with a minor in chemistry, y español. And so I'm still working on the español part because the cannabis side in Spanish, that's a whole nother language also. So I'm trying to learn that in Spanish.
Yeah.
But
Well,
it's
we
fun
have a
to
mutual friend that we're
incorporate.
working with on
Yes,
that.
Danielle.
Much love, Danielle. Much love. Check out her latest
Danielle?
magazine.
Yes, I was
We
actually
Birds.
supposed to hang out with her last night. Sorry, girl.
Oh,
didn't know
I
that.
know where she lives. We'll hunt her down. We're
Yeah.
coming. Rattle some pots.
Yeah, for sure.
You were in a bubble.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
the
you were in a
bubble.
The bigger
Yeah.
bubble is Texas.
Yes.
And
But
so-
I couldn't say anything because I've been working in the microbiology department now for 7 years, diagnosing infectious diseases. So I'm not trying to. That's scary.
Yeah.
If I'm jeopardizing everything, right? But at the same time, I know I'm doing the right thing. So that's what keeps me moving forward in this because this is the right thing to do.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I have this conversation with at least 2 women a week, and women who are leaving mainstream and getting into the cannabis industry. The first thing you hear is you're ruining your career. You're throwing away all these years of experience,
Yes,
your
ma'am.
education.
Yes.
I'm not throwing away anything. My life has blossomed and grown.
That's correct. That's correct.
And if you are a woman in mainstream and you're wanting in this industry, send me a message. I will put you in touch with,
Right.
organizations that will help women, and
Absolutely.
one of my favorite one is Denver Women of Cannabis with Nuvolution and, get
Nice.
involved.
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, Women's of Cannabis conference is going to be held in Vegas this December. So that's just women coming together and supporting each other and moving forward. And also the MJ Lifestyle magazine, that issue was just released, and I'm honored to have done that with so many amazing women, beautiful souls, caregivers, mommies,
Wasn't it All
advocates.
Women of Texas? Is that the one that I saw was All Women of Texas?
Wait, was that
you
the
were
Stacey
in?
Thompson thing?
Was she in that?
She was.
Oh, sorry, you were
also
talking about the
in that.
magazine.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. But Stacey Thompson also was in the magazine, and Stacey Thompson is also with Women of Cannabis Conference.
There, I had a visual aid. I was trying to set up the visual aid. Look at that computer animation.
So yeah, definitely shout out there. So it's about coming together, and even the journey that I came on here. Just coming to Denver, I introduced some people to other people. Come to find out, they're from the same town. They're going to end up moving back. And it was almost like a serendipitous meet that was supposed to happen. Then I bring those same people here, and then you all have mutual acquaintances. In fact, your next person that you're going to be interviewing, I guess, new.
Yeah.
Right. So it's just wild how it's so beautiful how this cannabis space brings the people with the passion and the strength to move forward to do the right thing.
And it's our friends in the veteran organization
Absolutely.
that VVERG supports, the Veterans for Natural Rights, Brian Ortega. And it
mad
just,
respect.
Yes. Yes. And he's really getting that chapter going in Texas.
Right. And that's definitely something in the works that I'm part of an organization in Texas, Texas Veterans for Medical Marijuana as well. And sorry, that kind of threw me off.
Oh, sorry.
No, you're good. No, don't even apologize for that. I'm kind of like that, like.
Oh, okay.
No, but for Texas Veterans for Medical Marijuana, and I'm trying to focus on helping have another outlet for veterans after they separate. That's something like just with transition, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So there's something in the works that I'm trying to figure out and focusing, because it's important to have a target audience. Because when people say, "Well, who's your audience?" Well, honestly, everyone's my audience. I want everyone to know about having the understanding down to the. Even though it sounds complex when you say the molecular level, it really isn't. It's just an understanding that if this is nature and this is a plant and this has properties that match lock and key with our systems of the body. And if I have to start with the target audience, I would love to start with veterans in helping, because the PTSD, right? So many other ailments, because my service-connected disability is not PTSD, so I understand that it's just, we did sacrifice time and in our lives, and now it's just time. And I don't even like to separate that, because we're all patients.
Yeah. Well,
but it's the hardest.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're totally fine.
You're talking about getting on a micro level. The organization that I worked with, we really focused on family, on their support system, and not just found services for dad or mom, but we had spousal support. Beautiful. We had parent support, and in dealing with the anxieties, and made sure that we had family barbecues, even though our guys were gone. Got the family units together and kept them strong. And that's what we have to do in the cannabis industry too.
No, that's real. That's real talk, because that support helps so much, just knowing you have that system to move forward. And especially in Texas, though, it's extremely risky. Are you willing to take that chance now, Or if you have children, what's going to happen, Because Texas is its own country. Let's just be real. And within our own country,
like a whole nother country,
for real. And within
yes,
within that, the counties, there's so many different rules. It's like go 20 minutes north, and it's a whole nother story.
Yeah, we deal with that here,
right?
I lived in Bexar County for a year before I realized that I lived in Bexar County. I'd been listening to the weathermen, thinking, "Man, this county next to us somewhere always gets weather. They're always talking about it." And I was there for seriously like several months before somebody's like, "This is Bear County. This BEXAR, Bear." Like,
you're like, oh.
That's funny.
I used to kind of troll people and say I'm going to Nacogdoches.
Nacogdoches, yeah, that's nice.
Yeah.
What were we
Go
talking
back to microbiology and yes,
that's fun.
Yes, and talk about individualizing medicine.
What do you know about penetration and enhancement for skin? Do you know anything about that?
Like just the transdermal. Well, I mean, honestly, your body is only as good as what it can absorb, right? If we're talking I really can't get into it in depth, but I guess I can talk about my understanding, as far as what I do know, is that nanotechnology is, the basically where it's at right now in liposomal transmission. Basically, it basically puts the compounds in a beautiful little liposome, like a little lipid ball, if you will, which is protected, and then that is able to cross through the cell membrane easier, which then increases your bioavailability. So however the nanotechnology is, whatever product you have, and that's when it just gets crazy because there's just so many things. But what is the administration method? That's different, because if you think about if you smoke, it goes into the lungs, into the bloodstream. But think about, and so when you smoke, you've got the decarboxylated, right? So it's going to, that's delta 9 THC, right? But when you ingest it though, now we're not talking about the respiratory system anymore. Now we're talking about your digestive system. And what is your digestive system responsible for? It's responsible for breaking down what you put in the body and absorbing the nutrients, right? So when you ingest cannabis, it's broken down, and the compound that is metabolized is 11-hydroxy-THC. So because of that different compound, not delta 9 THC that went through into the blood, into the lungs, into the bloodstream, this metabolite is the reason that you respond differently. When you smoke, that's quick, right?
Now you left off one.
11-hydroxy-THC.
With somebody that has digestive issues, sometimes ingesting isn't my option. So how does the body utilize it? Either rectally, vaginally,
right,
or belly?
So my cannabis testimony is actually using a suppository, because a lot of people, have said, "Oh, you're just trying to get it." Cannabis legal so you can smoke and get high, which there's nothing, I mean, even if that is your choice, there is nothing wrong with that. Let's just say that there. But my journey began because I had ulcerative colitis for 10 years, going in and out of the hospital, right? Just going through that struggle. I was service-connected disabled veteran because I was diagnosed 6 months after being separated. They started me on an intravenous medication, and I was on that for 2.5 years, where I sat in a chair. They gave me an IV for like 2.5, 3 hours. It was like chemo, right? It literally was. As a matter of fact, this particular drug was used for chemo patients first, but it wasn't as effective, and they just used it for autoimmune disorders, right? Which at the beginning it did help. I mean, it would put me in remission, but then it made my body started to respond in a negative way. And I turned into a human strawberry. I had rashes all over my body, like from head to toe. Like, it was awful. So it took so long for me to figure it out, because I'm living in Texas. No one's like actively putting it out there that this is a choice for you, because we don't have access. The compassionate use program is very selective in the ailments that it helps, which means it's not very compassionate at all. Right. So I went on a journey, and I just did walkthroughs of farms and labs and dispensaries, and I asked questions like, what is happening? How is this the way it is? Because like you say, this has been happening for so long, but we've just been so kept away for so long with this propaganda and this nastiness. Well, while I was on my journey, I ended up at MJ BizCon. I was in Vegas, and I started to have symptoms of a flare-up. Symptoms of a flare-up with ulcerative colitis is when you have the inflammation of your large intestines. The inflammation of your large intestines so bad that it causes ulcers. So now you have like open wounds basically in your large intestines. But wait, there's more. The waste has to pass, right? So now you've got the waste that needs to be exiting the body is just rubbing on all these open sores. I mean, it's the most painful. I always compare it to digesting glass. It's awful. So what happens? You get the dysentery, right? So that's a shit show, pun intended. Fever's ridiculously high. Whatever. It's a shit show. So every time I end up in the hospital, what do? They're giving me the steroids. They're giving me the antibiotics. The opiates, I understand that personally too. Of course I want that. I'm in pain. In a pain that I don't want to feel. Give it to me, you know?
Yeah.
So it's really sad that that's where it goes. But this time, when I was in Vegas, I was on my way. I mean, I was just like, I'm going to suck it up. I took a picture with Dr. Sue Sisley, but I'm sitting there smiling and having a good old time. Nuh-uh. On my Instagram, cbd.genie, look it up. It's Dr. Sue Sisley and I'm smiling. I am so sick, but I became so good at faking it. And someone suggested to me, I was having lunch with Dr. Sisley and, we were having conversation, and then someone suggested, try a suppository. And it was almost embarrassing that I hadn't even thought about that. However,
No
I
pun
tried
intended again.
but I'm going to throw a lot of puns on that one. You kind of have to because, and I've been in remission for like 3 years now without taking any meds, strictly nature. So I had to throw that out there. But the suppository is what helped me. Why? Because it was a local administration. The bioavailability was great. And I mean, it took about a solid 4 days for me to get back on track. But that's way better than missing work, not having a social life, being trapped in a cave and like a slave to my own bowels for like 2 months. And I would get so bony because I was on a liquid diet, and then I would blow up because of the steroids. My body the chemistry of my body with the quote unquote right way to do it me up.
Well, you start dealing with illnesses that are from malnutrition.
Yes.
Because that's really what the issue is.
And, for example, with steroids, of course that's going to help with the inflammation, but it's a glucocorticoid. So now they got to come in and prick my finger now because they got to check my blood sugar because my blood sugar is going up so much because they're injecting me with so many steroids. The antibiotics, they're flushing out my system. So now my normal flora is getting flushed out too. So now, it's like a nuclear bomb to your insides. Yeah, it kills the bad bacteria. Hooray. But now all the good shit that needs to be in there, the good flora that needs to be in there is no longer there. Wiping that out. Right. Then the opiates on top of that's just gonna throw in some extra side effects, messing up the kidney. So when you have that,
the side effects include constipation, right?
Let's
I
just
see
keep
pills
it right there.
for opioid-induced constipation.
All the time.
That's one of the most ridiculous things. So now you've got ulcerative colitis with constipation.
Not really. I don't. That was never an issue because it's
not now.
No. During that time,
that horrible picture.
During that time, that's not the concern. It's messing up the rest of my system. It's throwing my system off. Whereas if you have the choice to have access for wellness using nature, that's what I'm so strongly passionate about, and putting that new sense of awareness out there because you are even down to, I like to even compare food that we eat, right? The terpenes in the citrus fruits, right? Understanding that it's in the rinds. What my girlfriend and I, what we do is like with marinades, we put the lemon zest, right? Yeah. So it just simple things, and those understanding, a lot of people don't understand. We're talking about D-limonene,
Right.
That's the one that's the most abundant in nature, in fact. And you can find it in all the citrus fruits and then in rosemary. I mean, so many places. Right?
Well, our indigenous ancestors would tell us to eat seasonally, the importance of eating seasonally and regionally. And now health and wellness, they're kind of getting behind that now.
Yes.
And understanding that, there was some wisdom to it. And
Yes.
I saw that firsthand when my dad was passing. He was in South Carolina, and I don't have to worry about saying this because my sisters don't watch my show, but he called me
start watching this
and
show,
he said, baby, he goes, your sisters are good cooks and they're good to me. He goes, but I really feel like if you come up here and cooked, the South Louisiana style, I could taste it. And I said, okay, I'll be right there. And so I sent one son to Fouchon, which is the Gulf, and I sent another son to a bayou up this. And so I had all kinds of fish. And I stopped in his hometown, and I bought fresh vegetables from the farmer's market, and even stopped, and Travis is going to love this, and got a couple of gallons of water.
I love that so much. Oh
Because,
my God, I love that.
it's got to be the water. That. Yeah, you got to have that water in that gumbo shot. But anyway.
I love that so much. Got to drink me some water.
Yeah, but I even, and I took the spices out of my garden, and that's what I went home and I cooked for my father. And it was food that he grew up on, that his, dust to dust he was made out of, and he would gain weight every time I was there, and my sisters hated him for it. And she was like, I don't know what you're doing, but, I used old Cajun techniques, in it.
The spices.
Yes.
That's serious.
And people don't realize that those spices, if you called me and you go, oh, Julie, I've got a terrible head cold. My first thought is you need vitamin A. I need to get something with oregano and parsley and, and address what your body is needed.
Right.
That's so good for the mucous membranes, and
right.
maybe make it with tomatoes so it has a good vitamin C stock. And,
right. What
medicinally.
What terpene would you say for the repair for membranes? Because the one that comes to mind for me is beta caryophyllene.
Well,
would you say have you?
I was writing down something. What about beta caryophyllene?
Yeah, would you say beta caryophyllene is a terpene that's being highlighted in membrane repair? Mucosal membrane repair. Right.
I think I saw an article on that. I forget which one it was, but they done a study on that.
No, for sure.
It's my second favorite terpene.
Is it?
Right.
Yeah. My first is Neuronidol.
It
smells wonderful. You should smell it.
And what does it do for you?
That's found in citrus as well.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It's kind of like I imagine it is kind of like a cross between like D-limonene, like a lemony.
Yeah.
It's a very citrusy smell, but it's an exotic citric type of smell.
You know who's really good at translating? I love talking about Max Montrose.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Friend of ours.
Yeah. Taking his class. Failed it miserably.
Oh,
did you?
Yeah.
Oh, Lord, I'm not even going to try it.
Oh, no, it was.
Oh, challenge accepted. Yeah, that's just a beautiful thing for people to understand when people say food is medicine. Mm-hmm. Well, let's talk about. Oh, I actually always wear this necklace as well. It's the CBD molecule. Mm-hmm. So by looking at this, do you know the difference between CBD and THC?
No, I don't.
So this is so it's actually really, really simple when it comes to I don't know if you can see it. Do you see that gap in there?
Yep.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so that's the CBD molecule.
Mm-hmm.
Had it been closed, that's THC. Huh. So I wanted to say this, that THC and CBD are actually isomers of each other. And what that simply means is that they have the exact same molecular formula. And the only difference is their structure, their actual molecular structure. And you have to understand that your structure determines your function. And the way I simply put that is you would not use a hammer to sweep the floor. Mm-hmm. And you wouldn't use a broom to hammer a nail in the wall. Well, people always argue that one. True, but you know what I'm saying. Structure and function. So when it comes down to the molecular structures, even though they have the same formula, the structure is different, and that small difference makes the biggest difference in the biochemistry in what system and how they respond with receptors, because the structure will either bind, lock and key with the receptor, or it will bind to what is called an allosteric site, which is just not the actual active site where the receptor matches lock and key, but it binds to an allosteric site, which then changes the shape of the active site. So then, for example, THC would not be able, if it's shaped like this now, THC would not be able to bind. It would just kind of like go off because of the allosteric site binding.
So you're like squishing like if you've got something that's shaped like an oval and it's got a circular receptor in the allosteric site is like kind of squishing that circular receptor into an oval so that this oval could fit through it.
Yeah, maybe that's a way to think of it, but it mainly
What's a better way to think of it?
It just comes down to the active site looking the way it's supposed to or not. And if it looks the way that it's supposed to, it will have that signal transduction response because it's a key and that cascade of events will happen. But if it doesn't look like the way it's supposed to, it will not bind. So therefore that cascade of events will not happen because it is not binding lock and key to turn it. You know what I'm saying? So that's the way you want to think of an allosteric site or a compound binding to another side because it'll change it. So I don't know if you've heard, if you have too much THC, that CBD can come in and help balance you out, right? How is that possible? Because it binds to the allosteric site, so now THC no longer can do that lock and key change in that signal's response.
Thank you so much for bringing her here.
You are so welcome. You got to
goodness.
promise me, though.
Yes, ma'am.
We got to do another show.
And we got to drink some more water.
And we got to drink some more water.
Okay.
And even if it's call-in.
I'm not trying to end this now, but by the way, I'm
But
just
do
saying.
we need to end this? Because her ride is here.
I have a question. So,
Sure.
all right. So tell me that my
Oh
understanding.
gosh, wait, hold on. Okay, so
I want to talk about 11-hydroxy THC, and I want to talk about the delta 9 to 11
okay.
because that is
Actually-
something I don't know about.
Before we get into this, actually, what time is it for real? Because
It is 12:51. You can't tell us yet?
let's go, and then we're gonna close.
Just what is the process? We know that we go from this is an enzymatic process, and that's and then there's decarboxylation, and then what is is it an enzymatic process, or is it what physically is happening between
that is a beautiful,
delta 9 THC and 11-hydroxy THC?
This is a beautiful question that I actually that's exactly where I am today in my learning. So let's do this. I'm gonna get this answer, and then we're gonna talk about it. Can we do that?
Yes.
I would love that so much because that's literally where I am in my stage, and that's where I stopped, right? Because I said 11-hydroxy THC. That's all I know.
And then the follow-up question.
And then we were the following.
The follow-up question is CBD. What then?
Right.
Because there have
Yes.
been papers published on
Absolutely.
CBD.
Absolutely.
If you're saying that delta 9 turns into 11-hydroxy in the stomach, then I wonder what does decarboxylated, just CBD, do in the stomach?
Right.
And how would one go about?
Oh, that is the that's beautiful, and that's exactly where I want to go and take it. I just never want to start with that because you can lose your audience real quick. It happens.
Our audience is pretty smart.
Oh no, I trust and believe that. I already know because you said this is for the this is the influencers. So you're absolutely right. I just want to give it the time that it deserves.
Yeah, all right.
This
Well, we will schedule this.
Next time we'll
We will
schedule
schedule
more
this.
time.
Sir, yes,
Thank
ma'am.
you so much.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for coming.
We're gonna do that for sure.
Anita Sommers from Texas
Yes, sir.
knows a thing or two about a thing or two. And they're super awesome guests.
Thank
We've got to
you so
get you
much.
back on soon.
And
soon
on
as
social
possible.
media, you can find me as CBD Genie. Instagram, it'll be cbd.genie. I got a couple of videos on YouTube. Just there's 3 of them, but I love them so much because dives into what you, like you said, it's been happening for so long. But I like to add my little twist to it, talk about cannabis as a plant, as a beautiful flower that buds, that has so much potential. 20,000 modern uses when you're talking about hemp seed and hemp stalk. And when we're talking about the flower, how that's actual, the beauty of the plant as wellness and just medicine. So I look forward to staying in touch with you guys. Yes. Thank you so much for having me. And also, I look forward to doing something special working with veterans. And I got a team going, and we're going to be focusing on that so much. And that molecular pathway is...
And whatever she does with veterans, Veedworks will be all up in it.
Yeah, okay.
You know,
that's what I'm talking about.
Absolutely.
Yes, ma'am.
That's one of my favorite things.
I'm going to let this, what's been the intro, roll out for a few seconds at the end of this, because that's when I'm going to start putting in YouTube cue cards or whatever the hell they're called.
Okay.
But thank you very much for joining us. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. This was a beautiful, serendipitous time.
Yeah. And so I'm going to transition here. I'm playing Dub Conscious in the background. Adrian Zelski, HEH Seed, International Hemp Exchange. Come on the show, Adrian.
Yeah.
Thanks for not giving us any copyright strikes yet, but everybody go check out Dub Conscious, and I'm just going to let this roll out for a minute, and then we'll be out. And I'm Travis Lippert, reminding you, if you don't get hemp here, get hemp somewhere.
That's right.
There.
Yay, that great.
So we're still streaming this, but I intend to put little thumbnails on the right-hand side that
Awesome.
say, hey, check out our other shows.
Awesome.
Like
Thank
Mr.
you so much.
Soul.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, go watch the Mr. Soul show.
For sure.
He was interesting. He was really interesting.
I won't miss it.
It's really nerdy stuff. It was cool.
That's what I love. And that's what